Right. Now, let's talk about the editing process. How much does that play into the outcome of the product that you have? Because so you've got excellent equipment that you use, but you don't ever just send me raw photos. You
Mm-mm.
go in there and you do a little bit of work at that point. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that.
Well, so I mean, editing is, 'cause, yeah, that the raw photo is completely flat. I mean, there's very little color or anything like that in there, but that gives you a lot of room to edit that photo. Like I said, if you're in a dark room and you take that photo and you need to bring up, the light in the room because it's so dark. Some people, I've heard like, man, this house is a lot darker than what I don't bring it up too much, but I want people to be able to see the room, even if the homeowner doesn't have that room ready to be able to be seen. You know what I mean? Like I said, shades being broken, one light bulb. I've shot houses that didn't have power. I have a flash in my
I
bag.
mean, it makes it difficult, but I
Yeah,
mean, you
it
got to do what
does.
you got to do at that point.
Well, you know how real estate goes. I might call you going to a house and be like, Brian, there's no power here. He goes, well, the owner had told me there was power, but I guess the tenant canceled the thing, and it's like, can you still, they really want this listed. Can you still do it? And yeah, I got it. That was just another, with the experience that I have, knowing how to do that. It's not fun, but I can do it. And just having a flash in my bag, I'll take a image where, that camera shutters might stay open for 20 seconds to capture light because that house is so dark. And then I'll walk around the room with a flash and flash it and Photoshop myself out, and it makes it look like there's light in that house so they can see. Um, but
The
yeah.
so one of the things I know that you and I had to have a conversation with once is that your work is so great. Let me back up a little bit. The photos that we take as listing agents that we put forth out to the marketplace, we want to show the very best the home has to offer. It's going to be difficult to sell something if we can't get people in. But there's a balance that you have to operate, and we've had the discussion once or twice about you can shoot that house to make it look absolutely amazing by not hitting some of the not so good parts of the house. So we had to talk once about that. I still want you to give me the very best, but we need to make sure it's a true representation
Hmm.
of the house. And that's something I think that over time you've really developed well to where I can still show the house being a quality product and it looks great online, but it doesn't look too great to where people are disappointed when they walk in. Because that's
Yeah.
the thing I've always um, wanted to make sure I stayed away from is that setting an expectation of this, and then when they walk in, there's like, oh man,
Yeah.
at that point. So I think you've done a really good job with that, and that's undoubtedly had to been something that you've kind of packed in over the years to learn how to do a little bit better.
Well, I like to, some things like that. I'll call if I go to a house and the agent hasn't seen it and it's not ready. I always let the agent know, and I'm not
I mean,
gonna like
I've
show.
had many of those calls with you
I
before,
know,
and
and it's like you don't know that, or
mhm.
you're told it's ready, and some people's ready is completely different than other people's ready. It's funny though. I get asked the most questions by the people's whose houses are immaculate. They're like, "Do I need to move anything, or do I need
Yeah.
to like get that?" I'm like, This is amazing." And then the ones who still have like piles of dirty laundry, and the beds aren't made, and all that kind of stuff. They're like, "This is the best it's been in a while." So it's completely different scale of like who's ready for photos, but I always try and let the agent know, that this isn't really ready. Do you still want me to take the pictures? If they say no, I'll come back, and if they say yeah, that's the best it's gonna be. I mean, that's just what you have to do. But I try to not hide flaws in the house. I'll do that. But if there's a dirty pile of clothes over here and the dresser's all cluttered up, I'll just bring the camera in a little bit and try not to show that. It's not a misrepresentation, but like if that house was empty, it would look completely different
Yeah,
in the
no,
photo.
I completely
So,
agree with you
but
on
yeah,
that.
there's. I mean, I never try because I know like if there's a hole in the wall, I can't Photoshop out that hole if they're not fixing that hole, and then certain things if there's a water stain on the ceiling, like I'm not doctoring any of that unless that's been fixed, or the agent told me like, hey, it's been fixed and we're painting that can you get that out of there for me? So yeah, I don't. It's kind of hard. I think the things that do misrepresent stuff is what that wide angle lens does, and I try to be mindful of that because at 16 millimeters, when you're showing a room like the room we're in now, it's a cramped room. Well, you wouldn't be able to see this whole room at 24 millimeters. So if you zoomed in, you might get a little piece of this wall and then that whole back wall. But at 16 millimeters, you can see this entire thing, and that's what kind of it's used for. But it does make the room look bigger.
Yeah, you can see that a lot of times in kitchens. Not talking about your work, but just work that we see out in general public, other people have out there, where that refrigerator. Man, is that a commercial grade
Yeah.
refrigerator that I see? No, it's in a refrigerator, but that's that wide angle lens that they use to make it look twice as big as what it is.
Well, I try not to. It's hard. So the same thing, like you'll get dining rooms that are tight.
Hmm.
Anything that's close to that lens at 16 millimeter is comically big compared to where it's like what your eye normally sees. But to show that I try my hardest to get away from like if I try and get two shots of a dining room, but one has that table right up against my camera, I'm like, I think I'm just going to deliver one because it just that, I mean, you're focusing on the entire table. Like that table's not going to be there when you buy the house.
Right.
You won't see that. So, yeah, you got to think of that's just something that comes with experience is like thinking about what you're going to show and the way that wide angle lens just makes it look distorted and like you'll have two chairs next to each other, and this chair looks like it's made for somebody who's 7 feet tall, and this one looks
Right.
like it's for somebody who's 5 feet tall.
Right.